The way that you see yourself can definitely affect what you go after, what you believe you can do, and how quickly you let other people's opinions change your mind. So hey, hello, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Cherrelle, and on this channel, we're all about identity-based personal development. And in today's video, we're gonna use the lens of Elle Woods to look at why you might not believe in yourself until people believe in you first. So if you're tired of needing other people to make you feel good about yourself and the choices that you make, take a second to subscribe and let's get straight into the video. Before we can change how we believe in ourselves, we have to look at how we learn to see ourselves in the first place. Self-concept is what you believe about yourself, your abilities, your personality, and how you see yourself in different situations. Your self-esteem is how positively or negatively you feel about yourself based on those beliefs. Those two things can look very different. You can feel good about yourself overall and still believe that you're not smart enough to succeed, disciplined enough to stick to your goals, or serious enough to go after the life that you desire. You can see this play out in the movie Legally Blonde, and hopefully you've seen this movie for this to make sense. After Warner tells Elle that she isn't serious enough for the future that he wants from himself, she decides to get into Harvard Law and prove him wrong. But once she gets there, she's still being underestimated because of how she looks and because of the things that she likes. And this is basically how Elle's story connects back to the point of this video. When other people's opinions start shaping how you see yourself, you can start looking outside of yourself to determine if you're actually good enough for the life that you desire. So at first, validation can seem pretty simple. You want other people to tell you that you're doing well. So you look for approval, attention, or reassurance. And their reaction gives you some idea of if you're on the right track. But the problem starts when you rely on those reactions to decide how you feel about yourself. If someone approves of you, then you feel good. But if they don't, then you start questioning yourself. And the problem with this is the more important their reaction becomes, the harder it can be to trust your own judgment. In Legally Blonde, Elle reaches a point where she wants people who underestimated her to realize that they were wrong. Their opinion is a part of why she's pushing herself so hard. She wants them to see and to believe that she truly does belong at Harvard. But as she really begins to lock in with the process of becoming the kind of person who can succeed at Harvard without changing the true essence of herself, their reaction becomes less important. She starts understanding what she can do because she's the one doing it. What we see is that her focus shifts from I'm going to prove them wrong to this is what I want for myself. So what I want you to do is to take a second and ask yourself, are you pursuing something because you actually want it, or are you pursuing it because you want someone else to finally see you differently? Once you stop using someone else's reaction to measure yourself, you'll have more room to question the limits that you've placed on who it is that you can become. The way that you see yourself can put limits on what you expect from yourself. So if you think of yourself as someone who isn't disciplined, isn't confident, or isn't good in certain situations, then that view can definitely influence what you expect yourself to do. You may not even question those assumptions because they have become a part of how you describe yourself. So changing your self-concept doesn't mean pretending that you're already something that you're not. It means that your understanding of yourself can expand as you develop new abilities and new behaviors. So Elle doesn't have to stop being feminine, fashionable, or social to take her academics more serious. So as her story unfolds, we see that she can keep the parts of herself that she loves and values while developing new qualities and becoming a more well-rounded version of herself. She becomes more disciplined and more academically serious without deciding that person that she was before was the problem. And this is really important because changing your self-concept doesn't necessarily mean replacing one identity with another. It means realizing that one part of who you are doesn't have to define what else you can become. And once that idea becomes less restrictive, it can start changing the choices you make in your everyday situations. And how you see yourself really does affect what you're willing to do. It can change how much effort you put into something, how you respond when things get difficult, and which opportunities you even consider. So if you believe that something isn't for you, you're more likely to hold yourself back before you even give yourself the chance to see what you are capable of. And those choices can definitely reinforce the way that you already see yourself. So Elle Woods shows this clearly. Once her academic success becomes really important to her, she changes how she uses her time. And this is really important when we talk about building a routine around the person that you want to become. So studying for her isn't something that she only does during a set hour. She studies while exercising, while getting her hair done, and whenever she can really fit it in. And at the same time, she doesn't put the rest of her life on hold to become academically serious. She finds ways to make the goal fit into the life that she already has. The important lesson here is that growth doesn't require you to reject parts of yourself that you already like. You can become more disciplined without neglecting your self-care. You You can become more ambitious without becoming someone that you don't recognize or someone that you don't even like. And you can become more serious about your goals without losing the very things that make you you. A lot of the time, we carry an old version of ourselves into new situations without questioning it. We might think, I've never been disciplined, and that turns into, I am just not a disciplined person. Or you've avoided doing something before and decide, I'm just not someone who can do that. But if you truly want change for yourself, you have to separate who you've been from what it is that you want to become. And that's where deciding who you want to be comes in. So instead of letting your past behavior make the decision for you, you can decide which qualities you actually want to develop. And Elle gives us a great example of why deciding who you want to be has to go deeper than proving something to someone. So getting into Harvard didn't automatically make her more serious. She had to become a serious student. She had to change how she used her time. She had to put in the work and develop the discipline that Harvard required. And that's really important for you as well. If the only reason why you want change is to prove someone wrong, their opinion is still controlling the direction that you're going. Instead, ask yourself, what qualities do I actually want to develop? Even if no one else claps for me or approves, that's going to give you something to work towards that isn't dependent on someone else's approval. Once you've decided what you want to develop, it helps to look at the different parts of who you are instead of letting one label define all of you. You can care about your appearance and still take your career seriously. You can enjoy having fun and still hold yourself to high standards. Elle gives us a great example of how this works. So people see her interest in beauty and fashion and assume that that tells them everything that they need to know about her. But during Brooke's case, those interests become relevant in a way that no one expected. So Elle knows that getting a perm wet too soon can ruin it. So when the daughter says she came home and took a shower and washed her hair after getting a perm, Elle realizes something about her story that just doesn't add up. Her interest in knowledge and beauty, something that people dismiss as superficial, became the very thing that helped Elle win the case. And you can use this same idea when you are defining yourself. Instead of focusing so much on the person that you are, look at what you already bring to the table. What parts of yourself do you want to keep? What parts of yourself do you want to develop or add to? And what parts of you can you stop treating as a contradiction? You don't have to decide that one part of you cancels out another. You can build on what's already there. So your confidence grows stronger when you have the experiences where you actually handle something difficult. You try something, you figure out what works for you, and that experience gives you more reason to trust yourself the next time. And Elle gets an early opportunity to build that kind of confidence with her friend Paulette. So Paulette is afraid to confront her ex about keeping her dog Rufus, and Elle steps in to use that legal knowledge that she's been learning to help her out. So yeah, she's still a law student, she doesn't know everything, but she takes what she knows and she actually applies it. And that experience shows Elle that what she's learning can definitely help her in situations outside of the classroom. And you can do the same for yourself. Instead of waiting until you feel confident, give yourself small opportunities to practice the qualities that you want to develop. If you want to trust yourself more, make a decision and act on it. If you want to become more disciplined, set one goal for the day and make sure that you actually complete it. Then pay attention to how you feel after you've done what you said you were going to do. That's how you build trust in yourself instead of waiting for someone else to tell you what you can do. All right, so this next part is really important because from my experience, no matter how much work you've done to detach from the need of other people's approval, this is something that's probably going to continue to challenge you. So you might hide parts of yourself, you might change how you present yourself, or you might avoid doing something because you're already thinking about how other people will react. The problem is when their reaction starts changing the way that you see yourself. So psychologists have a term for this and it's called self-verification. Once you have a certain idea about yourself, feedback that supports it can feel like confirmation that you were right all along. And that's what happens to Elle after her professor hits on her. So of course, she rejects him and then she starts questioning everything that she's accomplished while at Harvard. So she goes to the salon and she tells Paulette that people will only see her as a blonde with big boobs and that no one will ever take her seriously. This one experience brings an old insecurity back to surface and suddenly Elle is questioning the future that she's been working so hard for. And this is where you have to learn how to separate what someone thinks about you from what you know you're working hard toward. You're going to be misunderstood. Someone is going to underestimate you. They're going to criticize you or decide that you're not worthy of something. None of that has to stop you from continuing to build the qualities that you want for yourself. So when someone's perception gets to you, bring the attention back to yourself. Focus on what did you actually accomplish through this season of becoming. Because you cannot control how people perceive you. You can only control how much their perception influences what you do next. As you continue your journey to becoming the best version of yourself, you're going to feel rejected embarrassed, frustrated, or even disappointed. Failing at something doesn't automatically mean that you're incapable. Having a hard time with something doesn't mean that you can't do it. And someone rejecting you doesn't mean that nobody wants you. It just means that a particular situation didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. You can be disappointed and still deal with what actually happened instead of turning it into a judgment about yourself. And that's the skill that I want you to practice. When something goes wrong, separate the event from the conclusion that you're making about yourself. Ask yourself what actually happened, what part of this needs my attention, and what can I do differently next time? If you did something poorly, work on the parts that you need to improve. If you made a mistake, just correct it. But whatever it is, don't turn that one experience into a definition of who you are. And this is what true mental control is. It's not controlling what happens so that you can keep deciding on what to do next. As your self-concept changes, that starts to shift. You still care about what people think, but you don't need their approval to feel sure about every decision that you make. Someone can disagree with you without making you think that you've made the wrong choice. Someone can underestimate you without making you lower your expectations of yourself. You're still gonna have moments where criticism gets to you. The difference is that you have your own standards to come back to. You know what you're working towards, what matters to you, and what kind of person you want to become. That's what you can expect to change. Other people's reactions, stop carrying so much weight because you're no longer using them to decide who you are. So the bottom line is you have to stop handing other people the power to decide how you feel about yourself. And that's going to take practice. Some days you'll make choices that you're proud of, and other days you may feel like you're falling back into old habits. What matters is that you keep coming back to yourself and you keep doing the work. Eventually, you'll reach a point where you can look at your life and see how much you have changed. You understand yourself better. You trust yourself more. You're no longer waiting for someone else to tell you that you're enough. You'll realize that all the days that you've spent learning, growing, struggling, starting over, and choosing yourself were actually taking you somewhere. And when you finally get there, you finally become the woman that you desire to be, you'll understand why it was all worth the wait. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you guys found it helpful. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in my next upload.